The crystalline spires of Stellar Academy pierced the purple sky of Centauri Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Inside one of the Academy's preparation rooms, Arya Stone adjusted her biodamper for the 5th time, ensuring it would continue masking her enhanced abilities. 6 months of intensive training had led to this moment, her infiltration of the most prestigious educational institution in the Galactic Alliance. Biosignature stable, neural patterns consistent with standard human baseline, the device chirped. Arya allowed herself a small smile. The council had chosen her precisely because she could pass as an unremarkable human student. No one would suspect that she was actually one of Earth's top operatives, sent to investigate a string of weapons technology thefts that all traced back to the Academy. The orientation hall buzzed with activity as students from 100 different species filed in. Some floated, others crawled, and a few seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Arya took her assigned seat, maintaining the slightly nervous posture expected of a human encountering such diversity for the first time. "Welcome, new students," Dean Vex's voice resonated through the hall. The Arcturian administrators' 4 eyes swept across the gathering. "You represent the finest young minds in the galaxy. Over the next 3 cycles, you will study advanced sciences that some worlds would consider impossible, even magical." Arya noticed several students casting dismissive glances her way. Humans were still considered technological infants by many species, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 30 years ago. Their contempt worked in her favor, no one scrutinizes too closely what they dismiss. Her first class was quantum engineering with Professor Arwa, a gaseous being who maintained form through an advanced containment field. As Arya deliberately struggled with a basic antimatter calculation, she observed her classmates. Her augmented senses, currently dampened to avoid detection, picked up subtle patterns in their movements and conversations. "The humans completely lost," sneered Zix, a crystalline student whose internal lattice structure sparkled with each word. "Why do they even let them in here?" "Educational diversity mandate," replied his friend Naira, her tentacles rippling with amusement. "Every cycle they have to accept a few charity cases." Arya ducked her head, playing her role while her implanted memory systems recorded every detail. Something about the way certain students carried themselves caught her attention, a militaristic bearing that seemed out of place in an academic setting. During the practical exercise, she carefully maintained a success rate of exactly 63%, high enough to justify her presence, low enough to avoid interest. But as she worked, she noticed Zix and several others accessing restricted sections of the quantum network with practiced ease. Her first day ended with more questions than answers. Back in her assigned quarters, Arya activated her secure communication link, disguised as a meditation aid. "Initial infiltration successful," she subvocalized. "But there's something else going on here beyond the weapons theft. Multiple students showing signs of advanced training inconsistent with their backgrounds." The response came as a faint neural impression: "Continue observation. Maintain cover at all costs. The stability of the Galactic Alliance may depend on what you discover." Arya lay back on her bed, processing the day's data through her enhanced cognitive systems. The Academy's pristine surface concealed layers of secrets, about that she was certain. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she had only glimpsed the outermost layer of a mystery that went far deeper than anyone suspected. As she drifted off to sleep, her systems running silent diagnostics, the moons of Centauri Prime cast shifting shadows through her window. Somewhere in this massive complex, someone was stealing weapons technology that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. Arya's mission was to find them. She just hoped she could do it before they found her first. 3 weeks into her mission at Stellar Academy, Arya noticed the pattern. Every 6th rotation, a group of students would disappear from their regular classes, returning hours later with subtle signs of physical exertion. Their absences were always perfectly excused, their academic records mysteriously updated to show attendance. "The quantum mechanics exam was brutal," said Kira, a bioluminescent Andromedan who had become Arya's lab partner. Unlike most others, Kira treated her with genuine kindness. I saw you struggling with the practical portion. Arya maintained her cover, letting frustration show in her voice. I just can't seem to grasp multidimensional calculations. In truth, her augmented mind had already solved the problems a dozen different ways, but she deliberately marked incorrect answers to maintain her mediocre performance. As they left the examination hall, Arya caught a glimpse of Zix and his usual group hurrying toward the restricted lower levels. Their movements were different now, precise, coordinated, like soldiers rather than students. Her enhanced hearing picked up fragments of their conversation, training sequence, combat protocols, new shipment. Later that day, in Advanced Materials Science, Professor Arwexel demonstrated the properties of a new alloy. This metal can absorb and redirect energy, making it ideal for defensive applications. Area's sensors detected that the composition matched exactly with components recently stolen from a secure Earth facility. During the practical session, she deliberately caused a minor accident, spilling some of the alloy. As she cleaned up, her nanoscale sensors analyzed its structure. The results were troubling. This wasn't just stolen technology, it had been modified, enhanced with principles far beyond current galactic science. Such clumsiness is typical of humans, sneered Naira, her tentacles writhing with contempt. But Arya noticed something odd, a fresh scar on one of those tentacles, consistent with combat training injuries. That evening, Arya accessed the Academy's quantum network through her neural interface, probing deeper than any normal student could. Behind layers of security, she found fragments of deleted files referencing something called Project Ascendant. Before she could dig deeper, a security sweep forced her to withdraw. In her quarters, she composed another secure message to Earth Command. Evidence suggests weapons technology isn't being stolen, it's being improved. Someone is using the Academy's resources to develop advanced military systems. Multiple students involved, possibly without full awareness. The response was immediate: investigate Project Ascendant. But be warned, we're detecting increased surveillance on all Earth communications. Someone may suspect our presence. A soft chime announced a visitor. Arya quickly deactivated her secure systems as the door slid open, revealing Kira. The Andromedan's bioluminescence pulsed with concern. I thought you might want to review quantum mechanics, Kira said, holding up a data pad. But something in her expression suggested another purpose for the visit. Once inside, Kira's voice dropped to a whisper. I've noticed things, strange things. Students changing, becoming different. I think something's happening to us. Arya maintained her cover but listened intently as Kira described subtle changes in her classmates' behavior, newfound abilities that seemed to appear overnight, and mysterious medical examinations that no one could quite remember. Sometimes I wake up feeling like I've run combat drills, Kira continued, her light patterns showing distress. But that's crazy, right? We're science students, not soldiers. Maybe we should look into it, Arya suggested carefully, seeing an opportunity. But quietly. Kira's bioluminescence flickered with relief. I knew you'd understand. Everyone thinks humans are primitive, but you see things others miss. As Kira left, Arya processed this new development. She had come to find stolen weapons, but she was uncovering something far more sinister. Someone was using the Academy's brightest students as test subjects for military enhancement procedures. But who? And why? The answers lay somewhere in the Academy's restricted levels, where students disappeared every sixth rotation. Arya knew she would have to risk accessing those areas soon, even if it meant potentially exposing herself. Outside her window, the three suns of Centauri Prime aligned in their rare convergence, casting strange shadows across the Academy's crystalline spires. Somewhere in those shadows, Project Ascendant was turning brilliant young minds into living weapons. Time was running out to stop it. The accident in the quantum engineering lab changed everything. Arya was running diagnostics on a containment field when she detected the critical failure building in Zix's experimental setup. Her enhanced senses registered the cascade reaction seconds before it would rupture. Without thinking, she moved. In the split second before disaster, Arya's augmented reflexes took over. She crossed the lab in 3 precise steps, redirected the quantum flow, and stabilized the field. Only after the danger passed did she realize her mistake. No ordinary human student could have detected the problem, let alone solved it so efficiently. Zix's crystalline structure flickered with suspicion. "Impressive reflexes for a primitive species," he said, each word sharp as diamond. Behind him, Naira's tentacles coiled tightly, a predatory gesture Arya's combat systems instantly recognized. Professor Arwexel expanded their gaseous form, intercepting the growing tension. "An excellent demonstration of crisis management," they announced to the class. But Arya noticed their containment field vibrating at a frequency that suggested agitation, or communication. That evening, Arya discovered her secure channel to Earth Command had been compromised. Her quarters showed signs of sophisticated scanning, nearly undetectable except to her enhanced senses. They were watching her now, but who? The students? The faculty? Or something else entirely? Kira arrived unexpectedly, her bioluminescence dimmed to near darkness. "They took Lax," she whispered, naming another student who had recently started asking questions. "They said it was a medical emergency, but his vital signs were perfect during morning check-in." Before Arya could respond, the Academy's emergency systems activated. Red warning lights pulsed through the corridors as Dean Vex's voice echoed, "All students report to secure locations immediately." "This is not a drill." Arya's enhanced hearing picked up what others couldn't, the subtle whine of military-grade shield generators powering up around the Academy. Her neural sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching from orbit. Someone was coming for the Academy. The halls erupted into chaos as students rushed to designated shelters. In the confusion, Arya noticed Zix and his group moving with tactical precision toward the restricted levels. She made a decision that would change everything. She followed them. Using her full capabilities now, Arya shadowed the group through security checkpoints and hidden passages. They led her to a massive underground chamber where rows of stasis pods lined the walls. Inside each pod was a student, their bodies undergoing visible modifications. "Project Ascendant proceeds as planned," a voice echoed through the chamber. Arya recognized Professor Arwexel, but their usual containment field had been replaced by something far more sophisticated. "The attack above will provide perfect cover for the final phase." Screens around the chamber displayed tactical data. The ships in orbit weren't attacking the Academy, they were defending it. From what? Arya's questions were answered as new alerts flashed across the displays. Earth Defense Fleet approaching. Her own people were coming, but they didn't know the full truth. The Academy wasn't just stealing and improving weapons technology, it was turning students into living weapons, creating an army of enhanced beings loyal to some hidden cause. A sudden pain lanced through Arya's head as her biodamper failed, its circuits burned out by some unseen force. Her true capabilities were now exposed, but so were her enemies. She had a choice: maintain what was left of her cover and gather more intelligence, or act now to save the students trapped in those pods. The decision was made for her as Kira emerged from the shadows, her bioluminescence pulsing with patterns Arya now recognized as combat signals. Her friend had been part of it all along, but the fear in her light patterns suggested not by choice. "I'm sorry," Kira's lights flickered in code that only enhanced vision could read. "They're in all our heads now. Run." Above them, the first shots of a battle that could start an interstellar war began to light up the purple sky of Centauri Prime. But the real war, Arya realized, was about to begin right here, deep beneath the crystalline spires of an academy that had become a fortress. The Academy's underground chamber transformed into a battlefield in seconds. Arya's combat systems registered multiple threats as Zix and his enhanced squad moved to surround her. Through the chaos, she kept her focus on the stasis pods containing unconscious students. Earth sent a more capable operative than expected. Professor Arwixel's voice resonated through their advanced containment field. But you're too late. Project Ascendant has already succeeded. Aria's neural processors worked at maximum capacity, analyzing the situation. The students in the pods were being transformed into hybrid weapons, their bodies enhanced with stolen technology, their minds linked to a central control system. She recognized the quantum signatures, they matched the fragments she detected in the Academy's network. "You're creating soldiers," Aria said, her cover now irrelevant. "But for what army?" "For the future." Dean Vex emerged from a hidden entrance, all four eyes glowing with unnatural energy. "The Galactic Alliance grows weak with peace. Someone must preserve order." Above them, the battle between Earth's fleet and the Academy's defenders intensified. Each blast shook the underground facility, but the Dean seemed unconcerned. "Your people think they're preventing weapons proliferation. They don't realize they're fighting their own children." The truth hit Aria like a quantum surge. The enhanced students were being positioned throughout the Alliance's key institutions. A hidden army, waiting to be activated. Kira's bioluminescence flickered in distress as she fought the control programming. "They took us on recruitment drives," she managed to communicate through light patterns. "Every sixth rotation, more students, more soldiers." Aria made her decision. She activated her full combat capabilities, her body's enhanced systems coming fully online for the first time since infiltrating the Academy. "Release them," she demanded. "All of them." "You still don't understand," Dean Vex smiled. "They are being released. Right now." The stasis pods began opening in sequence. Students emerged, their bodies altered, their eyes vacant. Among them was Lax, now more machine than organic. Aria's sensors detected quantum entanglement linking their neural networks to the Academy's systems. "The future requires unity," Professor Arwixel's containment field pulsed with power. "One purpose. One mind." Aria launched into action as the enhanced students attacked. Her training allowed her to incapacitate without killing, but each opponent was enhanced with technology beyond even her specifications. Zixa's crystalline form had been weaponized, shooting razor-sharp shards. Naira's tentacles crackled with energy that could disrupt neural systems. Through the combat, Aria's enhanced systems identified the quantum frequency linking the controlled students just as another explosion rocked the facility. The neural network had one critical flaw: it relied on Dean Vex's own brainwave patterns as a stabilizing template. She launched herself toward the quantum processors, dodging energy blasts from the controlled students. Her body moved with inhuman precision, each motion calculated to avoid lethal force against her unwilling opponents. These weren't soldiers yet, they were still students who needed saving. "Your resistance is futile," Dean Vex's voice resonated through the chamber. "The changes are permanent. The programming, irreversible." "Programming can always be rewritten," Aria replied, reaching the main processor. Her neural interface connected with the system, fighting through layers of security. She felt the artificial patterns trying to invade her own mind, but her training held. Kira's bioluminescence pulsed in a desperate pattern: "The link, it hurts, but it's not complete. We're still here, underneath." That was all Aria needed to hear. She initiated her override sequence, targeting the quantum frequency that maintained Dean Vex's control. The Dean's eyes widened as he felt the intrusion. "You'll kill them all," Professor Arwixel warned, their containment field crackling with deadly energy. "Their minds can't handle the separation." "Their minds are stronger than you think," Aria countered, her fingers flying across the processor's interface. "You forgot something important about humans and every other species here: we evolve by overcoming, not by submission." She broadcast a signal through the quantum network, not to attack the programming, but to amplify the students' own neural patterns. Their natural resistance, suppressed but never eliminated, began to surface. The chamber erupted in chaos as dozens of enhanced students fought an internal battle. Zixa's crystalline form vibrated between attack patterns and his natural state. Naira's tentacles writhed as her own consciousness reasserted itself. Dean Vex staggered, for eyes blazing with fury. "What have you done?" "Given them a choice," Arya answered, completing the sequence. "Something you never did." The quantum network pulsed once, twice, then shattered. Enhanced students collapsed across the chamber as their natural minds broke free. Emergency systems blared as the facility's power grid overloaded. In orbit, the battle suddenly ceased as graduated operatives regained their autonomy. Earth's fleet held position, weapons ready but unfired, as confusion replaced hostility. Kira was the first to rise, her bioluminescence now entirely her own. "We remember everything," she said softly. "What they did to us, what they wanted us to do." The alliance wasn't weak, Arya helped her friend up. "But it will be stronger for stopping this. Real unity comes from choice, not control." Dean Vex and Professor Arwexel were quickly secured by Earth's tactical teams. Project Ascendant's enhanced students would need time to recover, to reconcile their new abilities with their restored autonomy. But they would do it together, as students again rather than soldiers. 1 week later, Arya stood in the Academy's main hall, now bustling with medical teams and Alliance investigators. The stolen technology would be returned, the illegal enhancements studied to help those affected. But more importantly, the students were talking, really talking, across species and cultures about what had happened. "Will you stay?" Kira asked, her lights showing hope. "Help us learn to use these abilities properly." Arya looked out at the 3 setting suns of Centauri Prime. Her mission had evolved into something larger than stopping weapons theft. These students needed to understand their new capabilities, to learn control and responsibility. "Yes," she answered, deactivating her biodamper permanently. "I think it's time for all of us to stop hiding who we really are." The crystalline spires of Stellar Academy reflected the light of 3 worlds, no longer shadowed by secrets. Inside its halls, a new lesson was being learned: true strength comes not from domination, but from understanding. And sometimes, the greatest power lies not in what you can do, but in choosing what you should do.